Welcome to the Aledo Bearcats Coaches Show podcast, a presentation of Real Country 92.1 Hank FM and NTXVarsitySports.com. Live from Parker County Brewing Company in Willow Park. The Aledo Bearcats Coaches Show podcast is brought to you by H5 Sports Barn in Aledo and Hiley Mazda of Fort Worth. And now, here's the voice of the Bearcats, Kevin Longquist.
Hello and welcome to the Aledo Coaches Show podcast. I am Kevin Longquist, and we are here at Parker County Brewing Company, just off of Ranch House Road here in eastern Parker County. We will bring you every podcast from this location throughout the 25-26 school year, and it is a perfect night out here on the patio to do it. Clear skies, maybe some wispy clouds above us, no wind, practically no wind, and temperatures in the low 70s. I mean, that is pretty much heaven on earth as far as conditions are concerned, as far as our podcast for this week is concerned. As always, we want to thank our two main sponsors between H5 Sports Barn and Hiley Mazda of Fort Worth. We continue to appreciate their support of this podcast and Aledo Athletics. It is the end of the road for one program and the celebration of a tremendous career with the author of the Aledo boys soccer program, the road for another program trying to return to the state softball semifinals is also underway. So we're talking boys soccer and softball tonight on the Aledo Coaches Show podcast. Boys soccer season ended last week in the Class 5A Division I state quarterfinals on March 31st in Andrews. They fell to El Paso Americas 6-1. That completed a tremendous campaign at 22-4-2. That's coupled with the District 5-5A championship and the fourth deepest postseason run in program history. For head coach Derek Vierling, his career also comes to a close. He began this program 25 years ago. He finishes his distinguished mark at 611 wins, 240 losses, and 83 draws, and a career playoff record of 41 wins, 33 losses, and 2 trips to the state finals. Not a bad resume there. Now, for softball coach Heather Myers, the Ladycats softball program is rolling just like you would expect. Aledo has already clinched a playoff spot. The Ladycats are 18-9 and 8-0 in District 5-5A. Aledo starts this week on Tuesday. They will be at Keller Fossil Ridge and then home to Saginaw on Friday. And Myers always cringes when I bring up the district winning streak to her. In fact, I just reminded of her about that just a few moments ago. It's now at 62 going back to the 2021 season. That's all they do here in Aledo is all these long district winning streaks. You know, you've been a part of the football one, Derek, and of course, volleyball has one going as well. Okay, 2-segment podcast for you. We will begin with head coach Derek Vierling and then senior forward Kyle Stork, who had a tremendous season himself. We'll talk about that here in just a few moments. And then with softball's turn, we will talk with head coach Heather Myers. Okay. We'll start off with Derek Vierling and Kyle Stork. And gentlemen, thank you for doing this. I know this wasn't the finish that you all wanted as far as the things ending at the state quarterfinals were concerned. But before we get into that, let's just talk about the playoff run itself. Penalty kicks win over Denton in the opening round, blowout win over Joshua in the area round, and then the thrilling overtime win over El Paso Bel Air in the regional semifinals. So I'm going to actually start with you on this, Kyle. I said, when a team starts to feel like something is clicking and can make this kind of run, when did you guys kind of get that sense?
Really, the first few games of district, we had a bit of a rough start in preseason, but we had a 6A tournament that we swept the teams in. We won all 3 of those games, and that really just gave us a great feeling going into district. And at that point, it was just we were clicking at the right time. We kept scoring, not allowing goals. Everything was working out.
What about for you, Derek? Obviously, you had a hand in all of watching all of this, and so.
Yeah, I really think that that tournament in Crowley and coming off of the 3 losses going into that tournament, I was really worried and talked with Coach Martinez and said, and if we don't, I didn't know 2 of the teams from down in Houston area, and then Arlington Martin, which is a kind of a powerhouse in the 6A. And I said, man, we might go 0-3. I says the season could go down the toilet right here this weekend. and we ended up we had a nice win against Martin, and then we beat Dayton and Montgomery, and both of them were 4-0 wins, and it just kind of clicked, and everything started working. We went on this shutout streak, I think 14 games without allowing a goal. And it just, I think everybody really started believing and that we could do what we were doing. And so
I was going to ask you, Do you think maybe the penalty kicks win over Denton High kind of went, because you see this a lot during playoff runs where when some team survives a really up and down, very emotional type of game or match as you all were going through, that sometimes that can kind of propel you for the forthcoming rounds. Do you feed off of any momentum from that one over?
Totally agree. I always feel like that the first playoff win is the hardest one to get through.
Mm-hmm.
You know, everybody's nervous and antsy, and if you have success in that first one, then I think everybody starts to feel it and they start believing that we can continue on. And then we had the game against Joshua, and it just, I mean, probably one of the best games we played all year, maybe in the last 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
I mean, it just, everything worked. And then I think that gave us a ton more confidence even there. And then we go to play El Paso Bel Air. And I feel like we probably should have won that one in regulation. We had a couple of chances that didn't quite go our way. And then we ended up winning in overtime. But it just was a real magical playoff run.
For sure.
Yeah.
Kyle, when you guys get through the penalty kicks phase against Denton High, there's always that sigh of relief because it's kind of like that phrase, survive in advance, when it comes to the postseason. But what was kind of the energy you guys took from that? Because obviously you got to play 3 more matches.
I mean, it was just really the perfect way you can go on to the next round, especially winning in penalties, because that just makes it just that much more exciting and just brings everyone just to stay hyped up throughout the week going into the next game.
Okay. All right. So as you mentioned, Bel Air, a few moments ago, we couldn't talk to you about this last week because you guys were on your way out to Andrews, which is a good thing, by the way.
Yes, sir.
But just take us through the overtime win. Again, that was 2-1. Trapper Davis with both goals in that win. You were 0-0 after the first half, then 1-1 after regulation, and then the first overtime. You had just talked about a couple of opportunities you felt like you had in the regulation phase where you felt like you could have won it. But just take us through what that game was like, because Bel Air's no slouch.
No, Bel Air was really good. They only had one loss, and it was to El Paso Americas.
Right.
And the wind was incredible. I mean, it was 30, 40, 50 mile an hour gusts. And so it was very difficult conditions to play in. And we chose to defend the wind. And when we held them to 0 in the first half. And I thought, this felt really good with it. And then we scored in the second half with the wind. And it just kind of, I don't know if we got kind of discombobulated, and we weren't really playing the way we normally played for, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. And they, of course, they're do or die at that point.
Sure. They're
playing like crazy and throwing people up top, and they got us in a situation, and they scored. And I look back at the video, and we had 3 different slide tackles, and Kyle was, as a forward, tracked all the way back and had a slide tackle just outside the box, in the penalty box. And somehow or another, this kid just beat all 3 players, and then he got a cross in, and once got into the mix, and then it kind of, bounced in, and it tied it at 1. And all the guys were like, let's defend the wind in the first overtime, and when we get to overtime. And so we did that, and we held them, and it just kind of the rest was history. We ended up pulling them down.
Kyle, for you guys, obviously, in these, that's the interesting thing about postseason playoff overtime periods. You get 2 10-minute periods, and then you get the penalty kicks phase if no one scores. But that's really stressful because 10 minutes may seem like a long time, but it's really not. And so can you just speak about, because obviously you don't want to go to penalty kicks because that's pretty much flip of the coin. So just talk about that.
I think it just comes down to really focusing on not trying to rush anything, still trying to find moments, playing your own game, because 10 minutes isn't long, but if you have a good moment of playing the type of game y'all are supposed to play, you'll be able to go down and score in just a minute or 2. You just have to try to simplify it down as much as you can.
Okay. So let's talk about preparing for Americas. I know this isn't going to be a lot of fun, but nonetheless, we all got to talk about it. But just when you were preparing for Americas, did it give you the sense as you were going through this, both as players and coaches, that you have to be really textbook in the way you went about your business and preparing for this match, and then maybe some things had to break your way in order for this match to go your way? Talk about that.
Yeah,
there.
Definitely. We had talked about, and having been to the state tournament twice, and it's always, when you get to there's 8 teams left in the state.
Right.
Anybody that can play mistake free is the team that typically advances. And that was kind of, we talked about it a lot. Whoever makes the fewest mistakes is going to have a chance. And if things go the right way, and Trent Newton had a header off a corner kick, and I don't know, about the first 8 minutes of the game, and it just went wide, just barely. Had he put that in the back of the net, then we go up 1-0. I think that might have kind of changed things a little bit. And then I don't know, 2 or 3 minutes later, the same thing happened for them, and it did go into the back of the net, and all of a sudden we're down 1-0. And it was difficult to get any kind of momentum going again. I felt like we did pretty good for about 15 minutes after that goal, and then they got a goal right at the end of the half. And then the second half, I've done this for a long time. I've always said losing 1-0 or 10-0 is losing. There's not a good loss or a bad loss. And so we made a lot of changes at halftime. We sacrificed a defender and added an attacker to try to generate some offense, and they made us pay for it real quick. And they got a couple of goals at the start of the second half, and then when it was 4-0, it was really difficult to try to battle back, and we kept it going. I mean, we made it 5-1, and there was, I don't know, 10 minutes left. I played a lot of the underclassmen to get some playoff experience,
Sure.
And then I put the seniors back in the last 5 minutes, and it was not a good day, but I think it was good for a lot of the players to get the experience.
Kyle, for you guys, just looking at their skill level with Americas, how much different was it than what you had seen, maybe even versus Bel Air and just anybody else you all had played this year?
I think it just came down to their really patience with the ball. I mean, they were really good at just passing it around, making us chase after it. When a lot of teams we play, it's a lot of trying to get forward as quick as they can, which our defenders were able to deal with really good every game. I think they were able to just run us around more than we're used to by quite a bit.
Okay.
Kind of played the way we normally play. The way we would pass it around a lot. I mean, there were a couple of times where I was like, they have 11 or 12 players on the field versus the 10. And I was counting because I thought we were so outnumbered because they just were pinging it around. It was they played really well.
Yeah. By the way, we should point out too that Americas did get eliminated in the state semifinals. They lost to Prosper Walnut Grove 1-0 in the state semifinals. So Walnut Grove will be playing for the state championship this coming Friday, I think it is. And so,
Friday, yes, sir.
Okay, so Kyle, back to you for a moment. Great season for you. 15 goals, 3 of which were a hat trick against Granbury. 8 assists. You were a first-team all-district selection. Short of winning the state championship, I don't think you could have asked for a better career finish for the way things went for you. Just talk about your season.
Yeah, it was amazing. It's definitely been a blessing. I couldn't have really asked for my individual season to be much better, as well as the teams. I mean, winning district, undefeated, long playoff run. I mean, you really can't ask for much more than that. It was just great by everyone around. It was such a great feeling of being together as a team. And I think that really just made it all so amazing.
I asked Hunter Wall about this 2 weeks ago, but after Coach Vierling had announced his retirement, what was important for this team to make the main thing? Like, let's keep that particular match in front of you, keep that particular practice in front of you, and not kind of get swelled into the emotion of his farewell tours, anything like that. So make sure that you keep the task at hand. What was the way this team handled that?
I think it was just knowing that we know what type of team we are. We know how we can make it a really great last season. And that just pushed us more to, always give everything we have, because it's not just our last time, it's his last time too. And really just making sure we can do everything to make it as great for all of us as we can, which we did a really good job of.
I think so too.
Absolutely. Okay, so I want to ask you all this, both of you, this question. So when the Americas game ended, knowing that it was it for both sides of you, just take us through that final talk on the field. I'm sure there were some emotions on that, but Kyle, take us through at least from what Coach said, and then maybe what you all said to each other, because it's the last time you get to wear the uniform. You can't complain about the season. Not everyone's going to win a state title, but heck, you gave it a heck of a run.
Yeah, I mean, it was obviously sad at first. It was a lot, especially ending that long of a season. But I think we were able to just connect so much with each other, knowing how much we went through, how successful of a run we had. I think we definitely knew it was like very upsetting, of course, but we knew we had a lot more positives than negatives to look back on.
And then, Derek, what was it like for you gathering them for the last time?
It was pretty tough.
Yeah, I can
imagine. It was very hard. It's hard right now.
Yeah.
I mean,
Or you're the one who said you were done, and so
I know, but it was. It's just. I mean, I love this job.
Mm-hmm.
I love coaching. I love soccer, and it's very difficult to not be to still do it. You know, I mean, I've for 31 years I've done it. You know, I mean, it's in my blood, and I didn't want to leave the field.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I stood out there. I mean, I literally was the last one to walk off the field.
Yeah.
And when I went to the locker room and just I was crying.
Yeah.
I mean, it was very emotional. And the guy was locking up the stadium, and he came in there, and I said, "I'm sorry." He goes, "No, take your time." And I just didn't want it to finish.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it was an exciting, fun season,
Mm-hmm.
and even if we made it to the state finals, I still would have been emotional.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I mean, I just didn't want it to be finished.
Okay, so two-part question for you on this. Okay, so when you started this program 25 years ago, what was your vision for it? And then secondly, when you got the go-ahead from Tim Buchanan and a little bit of Steve Wood to make this a thing, what kind of support did you get from them to obviously make this a sport that could be a great partner in all of Aledo athletics?
Yeah, it's really kind of funny. I told my wife when I was offered the job, you know, I said, "Look, it's going to be a 1-year thing. I'm going to just go out there and get it started, and I'll move on to another school."
Mm-hmm.
And as a matter of fact, we even bought a house in Mansfield, and so I
Good
thought,
planning.
yeah, and you know, the first year we went 19-5 and went to the third round of the playoffs, and it was really exciting. And I had some playoff experience at Crowley, but we didn't go that far. And had a couple of the guys. I only had 2 seniors that started that year, and a couple of guys come to me saying, "You know, are you going to come back next year, Coach? You coming back? You got to come back." And I said, "No, I'll give it 1 more year." And I told my wife, I said, "We'll do 1 more year, see how it goes." And it just 1 more year turned into 25, and it just was. It's such a. I'm so blessed to have been here. I mean, it's such a great place. I mean, you talked about, you know, softball doing so well, and volleyball and football.
Mm-hmm.
It's just it's incredible.
It's kind of an infectious thing between all the sports.
It really is. It really is. I mean, we've got great coaches. It's great kids. I mean, I love it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's something that I want it to continue, and I'll probably still be a part of it somehow or some way, you know, in some capacity, just to continue it on, you know. And as far as Coach Buchanan, Coach Wood actually showed up after I did,
right?
But Coach Buchanan, you know, he just basically said, "Here, do it. You know, I'll let you handle it," and kind of ran with it, and it just, the success kept kind of breeding success. You know, the kids don't want to let the streak down. You know, they want to keep it going. I think that's the same way with football, and I'm sure with softball and volleyball and stuff. It's winning is contagious.
Yep.
and it's been awesome. I mean, I'm totally blessed.
You mentioned the first year you went 19-5 through a round of the playoffs, but just beyond that, the promotion, the building of the program, getting it off the ground, and then maintaining it. What was that like, and just kind of building that interest? Obviously, that first year makes a huge difference in terms of just being, that's the greatest selling tool you can have.
Exactly.
But beyond that, what else was important for this to kind of build and maintain over the course of time?
Well, the second year, we had a ton of kids come out, you know, that they realized what we had done the first year. And I was asking him, well, where were you last year? Coach, I didn't think that soccer was going to be any good, and a lot of in the early 2000s, a lot of the kids played soccer as 6, 7, 8, 9-year-olds. And then they got into baseball and football or whatever. And so they hadn't played a higher level outside of school soccer. And so that was one thing that I really tried to encourage and is getting the younger kids to get involved in higher level soccer so that I'm not teaching them the fundamentals. We can work on tactical stuff, how formations work. And if I'm just teaching passing and trapping, then probably not going to be as successful as we are.
Right.
And so it really helped. And then, it's been a lot of things where, like his older brother played for me. And so I think that, he grew up seeing his brother. And so, it just kind of tradition, there's been a lot of brothers that have come through here. And I think that has helped a lot, seeing the previous teams, the success, and the new kids coming in wanting to maintain that success.
Kyle, to that point, obviously you've seen where football is kind of like the benchmark of all Aledo athletics, but the fact that your brother had played for this sport has obviously had its share of success. So just seeing it through, what, I guess, sold you that you could be a part of this and contribute and build on what's been going on here?
Yeah, it was just always so great. I mean, I went to a lot of my brother's games. I saw a lot. I could see how much it meant to people, how much everyone on the field cared about it. All the games were it was always a very good team as well. I mean, always witnessing a lot more wins than losses, I feel like. And it was just good to see like what games are like, how much the players cared about it, how much everyone enjoyed it. It was all a great scene.
For you, you've been accepted to Texas A&M, so congratulations to you on that. Now, they don't play Division I soccer. I think the only men's Division I soccer team in the state of Texas is SMU. But that said, what do you hope the senior class established for the underclassmen who are still coming through here, and then the others that are coming up through the sub-varsity programs, that they can maintain? I
just hope we left the impression that, I mean, there's a lot more to it than just yourself, especially this year. It was his last year. We had 14 or 15 seniors. I think we really showed that everyone was really just giving their all. Everyone wanted it for the whole team. No one cared about individual stats or awards near as much as the team, and just trying to have as good of a season as possible.
I want to ask you the impact that Coach Vierling had in your life, not only as a player, but development as a young man. Talk about that.
It's been great. He's helped me through a lot. He's talked to me, especially because I played middle school through senior year. So that's the whole 6 years I had playing for him. And just learning a lot about leadership, about not just playing on the field. Playing on the field is obviously a big part of it, but I feel like it's helped me a lot as how to be a leader, how to be a teammate, how to help bring others up around you and focus on more than just yourself.
Derek, obviously we don't want to get too deep into memory lane here, but this season being fresh, but is there any other season that particularly stands out to you amongst all the others that have had, you've had great years, of course, but anything else is there a season though that kind of will always kind of remain entrenched in your mind?
Well, 2005 when we went to state was, I still talk to those guys all the time. I call them kids, but they're almost 40 now.
Which makes us now feel really old.
I've been telling you, it does. And that was a really special year because they were freshmen the first year we started soccer, right, and they were seniors, and we had a really good season. And then coaching my son was just incredible. I mean, that was 4 years of that was so special, just being a dad and a coach, and it was just that was a good time. So 2017, because those kids, they grew up with my son, and they would spend the night at my house as 6, 7, 8 year olds, right, and then I coached them all as seniors, and then 2018 going to state, we had the German exchange student and the goal. I mean, that was pretty cool. The only game we lost was the last game. And and then this year was a special year too. I mean, like you said, from middle school up. So I've been around it for 6 years, and and then we had such a good season. It'll be one I remember forever since it was the last one too. So.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, Kyle, I mean, you've ever been through a stretch like this, 14, 15 consecutive shutouts? I mean, as good as those seasons or that he just mentioned, I've never heard of anything like that before.
Yeah, never. It's incredible. I mean, and it almost like we thought of it as a really big deal at even 5 games, 4 or 5 games in a row without a shutout. And then it just kept going, and it just really became a goal every game to just keep that going. And the fact that we had it going so long, I mean, we would look back and think about it's been like a whole month since we've even allowed a goal. Stuff like that.
It was cool because we'd be up and we would put, some of the backups in, and the starters were just cheering like crazy to make sure that we didn't concede a goal. And then it got to the point where I thought, okay, we've got to do something because it's going to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, they're going to score on us eventually. How are we going to react to it and not have a meltdown,
Right.
And everybody start pointing fingers, if they get scored on. And we were up 2-0, and they scored on a free kick, which that happens, it was a free kick. It wasn't through the run of play.
It was against who?
Chisholm Trail.
Chisholm Trail, yeah.
And they made it 2-1, and we answered. We scored 4 goals in like 10 minutes. It was just like, it just made everybody mad. Let's go out there and show them, you scored on us, but let's take care of business. So.
Okay. Now you talked about once this is all over for you step down and that sort of thing that might hang around the program in some indirect capacity. But you also mentioned to me a couple of weeks ago that there might be a lot of pool activity and things like that in your future.
Well, we've had a swimming pool for 10 years, but we had it redone over the Christmas holidays, and I'm going to spend a lot of time hanging out by the pool and working in the yard. And it's I like to grill, and so we sit out on the back porch and cook some dinner and just enjoy the ambiance of the backyard. And so that's kind of my immediate future, is to do some pool stuff and just hang out.
And then the missus will say, "You're driving me nuts. You need to get out of the house."
Yes, I'm sure she will.
That day's coming too.
I know. I don't know exactly what'll happen. I'm gonna kind of leave it up to God and see where it leads me. And there's my dad keeps asking me to ask you for a job, work with you, because I got a good radio voice.
By the way, he and I kept running into each other in the press box every night for a home game. So it's like we saw each other quite a bit during the course. This is actually, I just finished my 20th season doing them, and so and to make us all feel old talking about that. I have 2 daughters. They're both actually teachers. They followed their mom's footsteps. One teaches in Fayetteville, Arkansas. The other one teaches in Grapevine, Colleyville. And when I started in 2006, they were in kindergarten and 2nd grade, respectively. So now they're in their mid-20s. And so anyway, so it just kind of shows you where it marks the time and that sort of thing. First of all, Kyle, thank you so much for your time here. Congratulations on a outstanding season to you. Best of luck to you at Texas A&M. And just you can't ask for a better way for this to end. Again, not a state championship, but you can't argue with getting right there to the end.
It was amazing. It really couldn't have been better at all.
And then Derek, for you, again, 611 wins, 240 losses, 83 draws, career record of 41-33, 2 trips to the state semifinals. Job well done. Thanks so much.
Sir.
Always appreciate your time. And
yes, sir.
That is Derek Vierling and Kyle Stork with us here from the Aledo boys soccer program. And we want to remind you that this Aledo Coaches Show podcast is brought to you by H5 Sports Barn. H5 Sports Barn and iPhysio and Performance can help unlock your athletic potential and elevate your game like the Aledo Bearcats. With expert sports physical therapy, tailored recovery plans, and top-notch sports performance training, H5 Sports Barn, proud supporters of the Aledo Bearcats. And by Hiley Mazda. Head to Hiley Mazda of Fort Worth today. Their new state-of-the-art facility is conveniently located just off of I-30. Exit Las Vegas Trail and experience top-notch service and hassle-free buying. Don't forget to ask about this month's special offers. Hiley Mazda of Fort Worth, family owned and operated for over 30 years. Stick around. The second segment of our podcast comes your way next. We'll be talking Aledo Ladycats softball. Back after this timeout. Ready to go? Just just give me okay, testing 1, 2.
Testing 1, 2.
Testing 1, 2.
Okay, give me a countdown from 3, and then we'll go. And we welcome you back to the Aledo Coaches Show podcast. I'm Kevin Lonnquist here, and before we get to the softball segment of our podcast, let's get you up to date on a couple of Aledo notables. Aledo spring football starts next week. That's April 13th, and if you saw the story recently in the Fort Worth Star-Telegram, you know there is going to be some movement in the quarterback room. Nash McElroy has moved back to California. Not a total surprise there because he had some family out there. The Star-Telegram's Charles Baggerly reporting that Crowley 2028 signal caller Elijah Pinnock has moved into the area. So one of the names to watch as far as the spring football season is concerned. And I can tell you there are other additions to the Aledo football program, but once we get that clearance on that, we will let you know. Now, baseball is at 21-2 and 6-0 in District 5-5A. Still tied for first place with Granbury. As expected, the Bearcats easily handled Keller Fossil Ridge last week, 11-1 and 10-0. They have a district series with Saginaw this week. Tuesday is at home. Friday is in Saginaw. Then a Saturday non-district game against Birdville High. And that is a look at your Aledo notables. Now, time to talk some Ladycats softball with the renowned head coach, Heather Myers, and her top assistant, Taylor Wilmer. Good to see you both again.
Hi.
Thanks for being with us. Welcome back. And you made it. You had the courage to show up this time. So,
Courage is right.
Exactly. So congratulations on another playoff berth. District championship is next. And so since this is our first hello, just kind of take us through the season, where things started back in February to where you are all now.
Well,
there's a lot to cover. Yeah.
There is a lot to cover. So to start off with, there was a little bit of like rain and stuff. So we lost some scrimmages. Mm-hmm. So where you see our record is 18-9, we used a lot of those first few games to try to figure out some things that we were missing that we can't actually see in practices. So when we lost those scrimmages, we had to use the games to do that. But I feel like it was actually better for us. We always play a tougher preseason than we do district, so we can see that exposure. And I think we have definitely seen where we needed to work. And so helped us for now. So now we know exactly what we need to work on continually to propel us for playoffs.
Taylor, second pair of eyes, obviously, for Coach Myers. What was your perception of just going through what that season was, this part of the season where you all are at now?
Yeah, I mean, early on, we had some struggles. We were trying to figure some things out. But honestly, just really grateful for the trials and tribulations that we had, because we talk all the time, like we want to be exposed. We want to see those things and know those things early on so that we can prepare. And I feel like our kids have answered really well to that, of like, we want our weakness to be our strength. And that has been the focus and the goal in practice every single day since then. And even through these games as well, like I just see us continually getting better and better because we have such a focus and we have so much knowledge of what does that need to look like and how do we get better day by day.
Okay, you can correct me on this, but I believe you had some pretty heavy turnover on that roster too from that state semifinal team. So when you go through something like that, what's the challenge in the offseason when you're blending so many new faces to try and keep something going like that?
Well, first they have to understand that they're not the same team that they were. And there were some hard conversations early on from the girls, saying, we're not the team that we were before. That doesn't mean we're not competitive. So they had to work through some of that and realize that it may look a little different, but we're still just as good, just as competitive. We're just going to have to do it in a different way. We can't just walk on the field and expect to win. We have to work for it, manufacture runs, work all the time. So
Taylor, from your perspective, because again, heavy roster turnover, that sort of thing, as an assistant there where you're trying to help bridge the gap and help say something maybe the same way but maybe differently that maybe resonates with a player or two.
Yeah, I mean, we had some big shoes to fill, but the great thing about our roster and our depth is that we have kids wanting to take those spots. They're eager and hungry to step up and fill those gaps that we did have. And no, we're never going to be able to do it the way that those before us have. That's the awesome thing about this team is like it's a new puzzle every year, and how they work together is going to look different and be different. But I feel like we finally found our footing in that. And some leaders have really risen to the top and shown that they can be great leaders, and they've really stepped up in a big way this year.
Okay, the positions that needed to be addressed the most, what were those concerns that you had coming into the season, Heather?
Well, we graduated, Marina at shortstop. I wasn't really worried about that. I knew I was more than likely going to move Delaney, but that opened up second base. So that was a big issue in my mind all summer. Losing Taylor on the mound and just her command, her speed, that was a little bit of a stressor, but I knew we had very, very talented pitching staff already. So again, I wasn't too stressed out about that. But I mean, everybody that we lost brought something valuable to the program. So whenever you're looking at those losses, it's easy to become overwhelmed and think, how are we going to make up for that? But then you look at what we have. They're so coachable. They're honest with each other. They know when they need to work harder. They know how to push each other in a loving way, but still competitive way. I mean, looking at what we have, I really wasn't that worried about where am I going to put this person. We're going to do what we need to do in order to get those people where they need to be by the time we get to district. And I feel like that's what we've done.
Taylor, one thing as I'm looking at this roster with her, you saw me going over it with Coach Myers right before we started recording this. And the thing that I found that struck me was that this player was either a pitcher or an outfielder. This player was utility. This player was utility. This player is this. So it was kind of like, some teams would be bound to you're our third baseman, you're our shortstop, you're our second baseman, and there's no flexibility beyond that because of what you've done. But with this team, the versatility of being able to play several positions, Braylee Meyer, one thing that I can bring about her, because I remember her mainly as a catcher, and then you brought to my attention, Heather, that she's also plays right field. So, so when you have that kind of situation there, Taylor, when you've got players that can do multiple positions, what does that do for a roster in terms of being able to plug and play? That might be too simplistic, but just making sure that if you put somebody in a different spot, it's not unfamiliar territory for them.
Right. It's crucial. I mean, it gives us depth. It gives us flexibility that we've had to use quite a lot this year, to be honest with you. But it's because they play high level softball and they're bought in. I think if you have somebody who, they're a utility, but their primary position to them is a specific spot, without that buy-in, it means nothing, right? These kids are showing up every day and we'll ask them hey, how you feel about this spot? And they'll be like, Coach, I'll do it. Let's go. They have that buy-in. They have that mentality of wanting to play and wanting to be the best for their teammates. And that really has been a difference maker. I mean, we've moved quite a few people around and asked them, let's just look at it. Let's just see if this is the solution. Let's just see if this makes our lineup stronger. Let's just see. And they're totally bought into that process and wanting the best foot forward for the entire team.
Now, Heather, you've never been shy of loading up in the non-district schedule. I mean, these three tournaments that you play are really brutal. Forney, Mansfield, and then the Turf Wars event that was blanketed throughout all of DFW the last weekend in February. And you actually got into that tournament for the first time last year. So second year to do it. And so, but you were willing to take some lumps and just kind of see, to your point earlier, look, we don't mind. I think you actually said to Taylor about, we don't mind getting exposed as long as we know what we have to work on. So just talk about that.
I always want to get exposed early. Like I said, it helps us to see what we need to work on to get better. It helps us mentally. It shows me how they can handle competition. It's not just about what are we trying to fix in a hole, or are you going to make the error if the ball's hit to you? It's how are you going to handle that? How are you going to handle stepping on the mound against the top hitters like Melissa? How are you going to handle when you have that hot shot and you can't make it, but you can still make a play at a different base? We want to get exposed early and often. So that's why I always want to get in these competitive tournaments so we can play the best of the best. It also feeds into, hey, if we know we can compete with 6A now, when we do move up, we're not going to be stressed about it. And, now next year we're going 6A. So I feel like the girls are prepared. They know they can compete at that level because they've been doing it for so many years. We always try to play 6A teams when we go to these tournaments so we can see that good teams and the exposure.
And Taylor, I mean, you've been around this program long enough to know that sometimes the non-district season can be a little bit more exciting than the district season. No disrespect to all of our other friends in the district, but the records and these scores kind of speak for themselves. But, the fact that you are playing all these 6A teams, and as your team is going through, what are you watching from them body language wise and just maybe the way they're talking to each other on the field during these games in February that are saying, they can handle this moment? What did you see?
Yeah, a lot of it is just waiting to see who our leaders are going to be and how they're going to step up and lead the team. You know, Heather's done a great job of preparing this program. I mean, this goes years back that she's been preparing us for this transition to 6A, and the adversity that we faced early on, one, will establish our leadership. It established our culture has been stronger than ever. I think that they've really found footing in our team culture, and the failure recovery has been faster and more often. Whereas I used to see early on somebody struggle with holding on to that strikeout or holding on to that missed pitch or whatever it was for innings at a time. And now our failure recovery is within that at bat, within that pitch, within that inning. And so just to see them grow in their failure recovery has been huge for me. And this team is full of kids who want the ball. They want the bat in their hand. They want the ball in their hand. They want to go compete for their teammates and not necessarily for themselves, but they want to see their team see success. And I think a lot of that stems back to the adversity we have been fortunate to face because we've learned how to overcome that failure and overcome it quickly.
You know, you bring up a term that I've never heard. Maybe it's because I'm not around it enough, but you said failure recovery. Is that a term that you guys have used over the years? Because I get the idea of it is like, if you fail, you got to move beyond it. But how do you preach that ideology?
So Coach Myers brought to us respect is an action. Those were her words for us this year. That's kind of grounded our team culture. And so we've been talking to the kids frequently about what does that even look like? What does it look like to respect the team? And like, yeah, I love you. Hey, good job. But what does that really mean on the day to day? And so we talked a lot about how selfishness can look like holding on to a mistake, can look like holding on to failure and not being willing and able to let it go to be your best for your teammate that very next play and not letting it linger. So failure recovery for me is like, this is a game of failure, right? Like even to have a great batting average, you're still going to fail multiple times, right? And so knowing that failure is part of our game, what does it look like to be able to deal with that and handle that and actually overcome it in the moment so you can still go be your best? And so just something that we've really encouraged the kids of like, you're not going to be perfect. And we, you know, you always hear like, hey, this pitch, hey, right here, stay in the moment. It was just another way for us to approach that with our kids of like, you're going to fail and you're not going to be perfect and we love you anyways. Now let's go do it. What does it look like? Let it go.
Okay, so 9-9 through the non-district season, but was there a game or maybe a couple of games, maybe in that Turf Wars tournament that you felt like they're getting it? I could start to see them turn the corner here.
Well, I wouldn't say there's a specific game that I can recall, but I'm always looking for growth to see where they're pushing themselves outside their comfort zone, if they're allowing themselves to step outside their comfort zone. And just like she spoke about the emergence of the leadership, there were some kids that stepped out in leadership throughout the tournaments that I did not anticipate to step up and be leaders, where they may have led through example and just through their actions. They became vocal leaders. And that was something that we were desperately needing. So I would say that I saw the emergence of leadership throughout that. And that is a huge turning point. You have to have kids that are willing to lead, that are willing to call people to the carpet in a way that is received. And we do talk about, you know, letting it go, you know, like respect is an action. All those things are huge this year. We talk about being intentional always with our words and with our actions, being disciplined on offense and defense, and being selfless. Those are our three main words that we tie into respect is an action this year. But during the tournaments, again, like the exposure is great, but the best thing that I saw that was a turning point for us was the leadership emergence. So that, I mean, it was just like, okay, we know where we're at now. This is how we're going to get it done. You know, because it's one thing for us to say it. It's completely different for your teammates to be like, all right, well, this is what we got to do to be successful.
And with the video here, it's kind of like it can't go in this one and out this one. And it has to stay in here, that sort of thing. Okay. A couple numbers on these Ladycats. They're batting .317 collectively. The on-base percentage, which is the number that most coaches will gravitate toward anyway, is a .414. They've belted 30 home runs. Team ERA is a little over 3. And one other number that you had mentioned to me before we went on the air was the fact that your strikeouts to walks ratio as offensively has been cut. I think you said it was at plus 30 on the strikeout or negative 30 on the strikeout side, and you've cut that down to plus -7 here. And so that's kind of a testament to things that you've talked about there.
Yes. We had a discussion with one of my seniors early on about just, hey, that your role this year is to see more pitches, show everybody what this looks like. And from that moment forward, not only did she see more pitches, everybody else started seeing more pitches. Like they started taking their, but we are always disciplined at the plate. We preach discipline all the time, but I feel like just that was an evolution too. Like coming through those tournaments was learning how to take more pitches, how to be more disciplined in the box, which in turn will lead to more quality at bats, less strikeout looking. I'm not saying a strikeout is, like the worst thing in the world, but whenever you have like 52 strikeouts to 18 walks, it's a big difference. Walks are on base where we can score, strikeouts we can't score.
Right.
So we presented it like that. And so we've been trying to do that reversal, and I think it's 88 strikeouts right now to 81 walks. So
it's getting there.
We're getting there.
We're getting there. Okay, Taylor, let's fast forward to the district season. Now, this is a district in 5-5A where you have won all of them except the opener, which is against Brewer. That was 5-0, but everything else has been double digits here. A run rule, mercy rule, whatever you want to call it. I would think, and we've seen this before, because I'm going to bring up the dreaded streak number here in just a second, but this is about playing to a standard rather than, again, no disrespect to the opponents, but rather than playing to the opponent. I would have to think that has to be where you're at now with this team because of what the bigger picture is as you're looking into getting into the postseason, which you've already clinched a spot, and then hopefully playing deep into May, if not further.
Yeah, we go into every game with a focus and a mentality to play our best softball, whatever that looks like. And whoever's in the lineup, it could be anybody in that given day. And so we talked earlier about how we had such a focus and intentionality with our practices. Well, that also carries over to our district play. We go into every single game with a specific focus, a specific goal, of something that we've been working on in practice that week. And this is our opportunity to now put that to the test. We're continuing to grow and get better. And I know the scores may not reflect how much work actually goes into that, but there's a lot happening within that game that is hard work and that is battle testing the things that we've been preparing for all week in practice. And we're very fortunate that we do have the staff that we do and the depth that we do. And lots of kids are getting lots of innings, and we're able to prepare them through that. And so I just think our intentionality and our focus that we go into every game with has been really beneficial.
Okay, so I'm not going to bring up the idea of this district winning streak at 62 going back to 2021 as just something that isn't talked about, because that's the easy question. But the idea, though, of district, because this is where, if you will, this is the money-making part of the season where you've got to be at your best, because you can have the greatest non-district season that you want, but if you don't deliver it here when it matters and determines your playoff fate, it's not going to matter. So I'm going to ask you, just from the standpoint of, again, the competition being what it is, but the fact that your club has had this kind of stretch for this many years, to understand it's talent, but it's also execution, that sort of thing. I want you to talk about that, Heather, in terms of just 62, putting that into context in terms of just getting to what is more important here in terms of just district championships and then making deep playoff runs.
Okay. Like I said last year, I know 62 is awesome and it's incredible, but we never look at it as, hey, we got to win this game to keep this stretch going.
Right.
We take it one game at a time, and that one game at a time has turned into 62 straight district wins, which is absolutely incredible. And I'm honored that we've even been able to do that. But again, it's one game at a time, one pitch at a time. We're trying to win every single inning. We don't want to lose an inning. That's our goal every game, win the inning. So I think that mentality and not trying to, not overestimating or underestimating a team in any capacity, regardless of what the district looks like, regardless of the caliber of ball players that we're playing against, we don't ever take them for granted. We go into each game looking at it like, this is another game that we're going to win every inning. So, it goes back since 2021. Goodness gracious.
Yeah.
I don't know. I remember the last game we lost in district. But
it was a Granbury.
It was.
It was 5-4. So, Taylor, let me get your perspective on this, because again, it's about being ready, because of this is the part where, and again, the streaks are what they are, but your your district championships and your deep playoff runs are a result of being ready to play those 12 games, and just talk about what that's meant in terms of just meeting the moment, because you need to be your best when your best is required.
Yeah, we have a bunch of gamers, I'll tell you that. And, when you're in it in the day-to-day, that number honestly never even comes to mind. But it's such a byproduct of the hard work that's put in day-to-day and how our kids truly do want to be their absolute best. And they're showing up every single day to practice, like I said earlier, to make those weaknesses our strong suits. And it's just a testament to the preparation of Coach Myers and the opportunities that she's afforded them in practice to make them ready for each opportunity. And I'll tell you, we don't take anybody for granted. No. We don't take any game for granted, any inning for granted. Like, we're hungry for more. We want to be our best. And we know that those opportunities are going to come when it counts. And that's through the district season. Okay. So.
Final question for you. And again, speaking to all that, 4 more games left in this regular season, which is crazy that we're already getting toward the end of it. And so, but I want to ask you, what do you want to see specifically? I mean, the results notwithstanding, but obviously we want to see all W's here. But at the same time, what do you want to see in these last 4 games to let you know that they are trending in the right direction if you all want to make the deep playoff run that you hope to?
I want to see continued growth, continued discipline. Where we're struggling, we know our individual deficits. We know what we need to work on. That's what I want to see. Like, if you're the courtesy runner, I want to see you not being afraid to run. I want you to not miss signs. I want to see the specific things for your role. I want that to gain. If you struggle with rise balls at the plate, I want to see you laying off the rise balls as we're moving forward. Having more quality at bats if that's something that you struggle with. So I'm looking individually at each player. How are you going to get better moving into playoffs so that we know that beyond a shadow of a doubt, we can use you in this situation. You're not going to crumble mentally. You're going to be able to do what we ask. No questions. And
then for you, Taylor, how do you, in your spot, how do you try to fortify what she's stressing to her team?
I think she does a really great job of communicating with the kids. So she has those really hard conversations, and she's talking earlier about these leaders emerging. That is because she sat down and had conversations with each kid and said, hey, you're gifted in this area. We have 6 seniors, and this is the kind of leader I see you can be. And I see that your strength is this, and I want to encourage you to pursue that. And so she's very intentional with those conversations and has those hard conversations. And we have lately started implementing some things called chalk talks, where as a coaching staff, we pull kids aside and it's just a litmus test. Like, hey, how are you? We can talk softball or nothing at all. But that's kind of where we start having those hard conversations too of, hey, I see at the plate you're struggling with this. Let's talk about that. Hey, next practice, I'm going to throw you nothing but that pitch. Let's make it your best. And so I just want to give Heather credit for that, because our kids know exactly where they stand, and they know what their strengths are, and they know what their weaknesses are. And she does a great job of preparing them to be their best through that. So I think just communication with them and making sure that we're a united front and communicating those things in a loving, positive way to help them be their best.
All right. Heather Myers, Taylor Wilmer, thank you both for being here. We'll see you all in 2 weeks. And hopefully we'll be talking district championship and looking forward to the opening playoff opponent series and how that all is going to, you're going to get one game all the way through, right?
Hopefully not. Don't speak that.
But that's going to happen.
Don't speak that into existence.
All right. Thank you both for being with us. And again, good luck to you. And we'll see you all in 2 weeks.
Thank
you. We want to remind you that this Aledo Coaches Show podcast is brought to you by H5 Sports Barn. H5 Sports Barn and iPhysio and Performance can help unlock your athletic potential and elevate your game like the Aledo Bearcats. With expert sports physical therapy, tailored recovery plans, and top-notch sports performance training, H5 Sports Barn, proud supporters of the Aledo Bearcats. It's all about the coin flip too, by the way. And it also brought to you by Hiley Mazda. Head to Hiley Mazda Fort Worth today. Their new state-of-the-art facility is conveniently located just off of I-30. Exit Las Vegas Trail and experience top-notch service and hassle-free buying. And don't forget to ask about this month's special offers. Hiley Mazda, a Fort Worth family owned and operated for over 30 years. For our engineering crew and the Hank FM staff, thanks for being with us here at Parker County Brewing Company. We will talk to you all next week with head baseball coach Chad Berry returns to talk about where the Bearcats are as they pursue not only a playoff spot, but a district title as well. I'm Kevin Lonnquist, and so long for the Aledo Coaches Show podcast.
Thanks for listening to the Aledo Coaches Show podcast, brought to you by H5 Sports Barn in Aledo and Hiley Mazda of Fort Worth. With the voice of the Bearcats, Kevin Longquist. Please like and subscribe to this podcast and tell a friend. You're also welcome to join us every Monday night at 7 from Parker County Brewing Company in Willow Park. It's the Aledo Coaches Show podcast, a presentation of Real Country 92.1, Hank FM, and NTXVarsitySports.com.